Hey, good morning. I wanted to talk to you this morning. Hopefully, you're not tired of me just yet. This is my second video, and I just posted about a podcast I did last week that was made available yesterday. But so you're getting a lot of Levi. But one of the conversations or the topics we talked about in that podcast was just about comparison. That's not even a word. Comparing myself or somebody else comparing themselves to me, the trap of comparison, and we were talking about that just because Thomas had made a few comments, just very complimentary towards me, to me, just about when he first was introduced to who I was on social media. This sounds so. I don't mean to sound arrogant. I'm not really anybody, but that he wanted to do what I was doing or whatever, and that's cool. It's a nice compliment to me. But the reality is that I'm constantly comparing myself to other people as well, and so it's just been on my mind since we had it was recorded last week, and I listened to it yesterday, and it's just something that it's just constantly as we deal with, as I coach other people and am being coached. That trap of comparison is there with social media, and it's really easy. And so this morning I was listening to a sermon by Pastor Stephen Furtick, and I'll link it here in the comments. But he was talking about comparison, and I don't know how. I didn't look at the date on when it was actually done, but I saw it on YouTube this morning, and I watched it, and it really prompted me to do this video. And so he had talked about something I'd never heard of before, and that is what is called or labeled imposter syndrome. And so I had to look it up, and I'm going to read the definition here and talk about some characteristics. And so I'm just going to read it. So it's the collection of feelings of inadequacy that persists despite evidence of success. Impostors suffer from chronic self-doubt and a sense of intellectual fraudulence that override any feelings of success, even with proof of their competence. And what does it feel like to be an imposter? A lack of self-confidence, anxiety, doubts about your thoughts, abilities, achievements, or accomplishments, negative self-talk, feelings of inadequacy, dwelling on past mistakes, and not feeling good enough. And that's something that I think all of us can relate to on some level. Probably more of us can relate to that more than we want to admit. I absolutely can relate to that. And that's why it's always odd to me that when someone compliments me and says really nice things to me about what I do, because I don't ever feel like I'm that person. It's odd to receive really nice compliments. And so, we have this fear of being found out. Social media is can be awesome. I use social media for my online business. Instagram and Facebook and YouTube are what help me pay my bills. And so I don't want to bash social media, but it becomes this monster that is out of control very quickly. And, we have this, we don't put our true self forward, and we are constantly being, I'm guilty of it, and I'm putting out things with filters and pictures or videos or whatever of things that I do that I do for likes and for attention because of the business side of things. It's not, I don't like that about me, that I do that, but at the same time, I've convinced myself that it's important to feed my family, so it's a business side of things as well, and that's a trap as well, to be honest. So the fear of being found out. So I'm only going to put my best foot forward, or this fear keeps us in performance mode. We got to prove everything that we do. We have performance. I can't even talk. We have performance anxiety for everyday life. We're not even doing anything other than living life, and we're worked up about it. We're anxious about just living life and what should I post today, and that's crazy. That fear of being found out, or performance, keeps us spending money on things that we don't want or need, just so we can keep up this illusion of who we are, and then we overcompensate to prove again that we're something that we're not, or we might not even believe what we're trying to prove. So as a personal example, earlier this week, I've been, if you follow me, I started competing in kettlebell marathon May of last year, so a year and a half basically. And I've been obviously doing kettlebell training much longer than that, years longer, but the actual training for competing in kettlebell sport, marathon specifically, is not the same as just working out or training with kettlebells. I'm not saying one's better than the other. I'm just saying that, training hardstyle techniques is fantastic, but training hardstyle techniques to compete in a marathon event is bringing a knife to a gunfight. And so I have limited experience in what I'm doing, and I often compare myself to the all-time greats in my weight class. Just earlier this week, I did a personal best of 100 snatch reps with one switch with 30 kilograms, 50 on my left, 50 on my right. When I started that process in March, I could do 50 and 50 with a 24. So the same amount of work and the same amount of time with 6 more kilograms. And so, and anybody that snatches kettlebells knows that as little as 2 kilograms makes a huge difference in what you're doing. So to improve by 6 kilograms is fantastic for me and where I am at in my journey. And excuse me. But immediately I was like, instead of being happy for the progress that I've made, I was like, yeah, but Denisov can do 120 an arm or whatever he does, something crazy, or Denis Vasilev. I've seen him and met him and watched him train, and it's like, and he's a middleweight, a weight class lower than me, and again, these guys are the all-time greats, and they've been doing it for years and years. And I started when I was 40, and 40 is not old, but it's not 25. And instead of being happy with my improvement, I was immediately comparing myself to world champions many times over, and why I was in not enough. It's crazy to think that's how fast that goes. So to wrap this up, Psalm 139:14 says, I praise you because I am fearfully and wonderfully made. Your works are wonderful. I know that full well. Genesis 1:27, so God created mankind in his own image. In the image of God, he created them. Male and female, he created them. The point being is that I am enough in who I am. I don't have to perform for you, and you don't have to perform for me or anyone else. We're not designed to do that. We are fearfully and wonderfully made in the image of Christ as we are. We are made in his image, and that's enough. I need to live out my purpose. You need to live out your purpose. And comparing ourselves to others to live up to standards that change by the day will destroy you. We can say goodbye to our contentment and goodbye to joy when we fall into that trap. So I hope that this is something that we can, as a society, remove ourselves from sooner than later.